Cheap phone! There have been a whole bunch of new affordable smartphones that have launched in the Malaysian market in the past couple of months, but which one is the best? Huh? Well, we've narrowed it down to 5 devices that we think are worth checking out for under 600 ringgit. For 599 ringgit, the Redmi 10C looks like a pretty solid option. This smartphone features a Snapdragon 680 processor at its core, mated to 4GB of RAM and 64GB of internal storage. If you want more storage, paying 629 ringgit will get you this phone with 128GB of expandable storage instead. Up front, the smartphone packs a 6.71-inch HD LCD display with a 60Hz refresh rate. Keeping the lights on, you'll find a 5000 mAh battery with support for 18 watts fast charging via the USB-C port. Photography is handled by a dual camera system consisting of a 50-megapixel main camera, a 2-megapixel depth sensor. Selfies, meanwhile, can be captured with a 5-megapixel shooter up front. Other goodies include a rear-mounted fingerprint scanner and a triple-slot SIM tray so that you can run a dual SIM and also a micro SD card. Not a brand you hear from a lot, but the 599 ringgit Infinix Hot 20 is a pretty interesting smartphone for the money. At its core, it is powered by a MediaTek Helio G85 processor that's mated to 6GB of RAM and 128GB of expandable storage. There's also a 5000 mAh battery keeping the lights on with support for 18-watt fast charging via USB-C. This phone features a 6.82-inch HD LCD display, but the kicker here is that it's actually a 90Hz screen. There is a 50-megapixel camera at the back with an f1.6 aperture lens as well as a 5-megapixel selfie shooter up front. Other goodies include stereo speakers, a 3.5mm headphone jack, a side-mounted fingerprint scanner, and even NFC support. For 599 ringgit, you can also opt for the Samsung Galaxy A04s, which is powered by an Exynos 850 processor with 4GB of RAM and 64GB of expandable storage. Up front, the device features a 6.5-inch HD LCD display that also supports 90Hz refresh rate. Keeping that screen powered is a 5000 mAh battery that supports 15-watt fast charging via USB-C. Photography is handled by a 50-megapixel main camera, a 2-megapixel macro shooter, and a 2-megapixel depth sensor at the back. Up front, you can take selfies with a 5-megapixel camera. On top of that, you are also getting a side-mounted fingerprint scanner, a 3.5mm headphone jack, just to round out the list of features. Honor also fields a 599 ringgit smartphone called the Honor X6. This phone is powered by a MediaTek Helio G25 processor that's mated to 4GB of RAM and 128GB of expandable storage. If you really need to save money, they offer a cheaper 559 ringgit version, but it only gets 64GB of internal storage. Keeping the lights on though is a 5000 mAh battery, which is nice, but it only supports 10-watt charging via USB-C. There is a compact 6.5-inch display in the front of this device, and this panel is an LCD panel that pushes a Full HD resolution plus a 60Hz refresh rate. For photography, the rear camera module consists of a 50-megapixel main camera, a 2-megapixel macro camera, and a 2-megapixel depth sensor. Up front, you'll find a 5-megapixel selfie shooter. Rounding out the features list, the smartphone also comes with a 3.5mm headphone jack and a side-mounted fingerprint scanner. The 599 ringgit Poco C40 is a phone that comes with a processor that's not commonly known. It features a JLQ JR510 processor mated to 4GB of RAM and 64GB of storage. But if you're looking to go below the 500 ringgit mark, this is the only phone on this list with a 499 ringgit base model. However, this base model only features 3GB of RAM and 32GB of storage. Up front, however, you get a large 6.71-inch LCD display that pushes a resolution of Full HD and a refresh rate of 60Hz. Keeping that on though is a generous 6000 mAh battery with support for 18-watt fast charging via USB-C. To take pictures, you get a modest 13-megapixel main camera with a 2-megapixel depth sensor at the back, while in front you'll find a 5-megapixel selfie shooter. You will also get a rear-mounted fingerprint scanner and a 3.5mm headphone jack. And that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more options for smartphones, make sure you hit the link in the video description because that will bring you to a post where we have even more smartphones that you can buy for under 600 ringgit. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit that notification bell icon so you don't miss any of our future videos. But that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.